Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because somewhere around the world that is truly what time it is. I'm your host. My name is Tony X. I am the dopest man on the planet, and I am here to give you great content. I want to thank everybody that donated to the channel yesterday. We did $130. I am very thankful. Anybody who wants to donate via PayPal, the information is under me. If you want to donate via Venmo, the information is under me on the screen. Today we're going to talk about Biden lying to black people. We're going to talk about black puppets. And we're going to talk about why the right can't get it right. Before we get into all that, we're going to get into this.
As you all are aware, the KKK of big techs, which is Google and YouTube, as well as Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, have been censoring me. And although you can still find me at Montaga on Parler, on Gab, on Rumble, and on Instagram and Twitter, I also suggest that you follow me on Telegram, which is Montaga1. That's right, Montaga1, the number one. I suggest you all find me on Telegram today. I hope that you take this content, you share this content, and you also put a like on this content. Let's get this content out there and let's help build this channel. And without further ado, let's get to the show.
Versus the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it. Versus the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it.
CEO, bullshit, paying for the pussy, I endorse it. Riding through the city, that's my office. So much money that you gon' need a forklift. Forget all rapping and riddles, click loud to your temple. Trusting that girl, me, I play it official. I'm stroking that cat like a fiddle. Emotions are king, that's why I'm tougher than Brillo. I turn your old girl to a widow, then kill her for zero. Throw her ass out of a window, smoking on Cali great.
Please be mindful this show is for 18 years of age and older. All copyright laws will be respected, but this show is intended to use the Fair Use Act of it. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're back. And today we're going to talk about why Joe Biden keep lying to black people. And the black people that put themselves in place specifically to be puppets for their puppet masters. We're gonna shout out to the Next News Network. Shout out to Gary. Shout out to Gary. You guys may not like some of the content in today's show, Next News Network, because I'm gonna be talking about you just a little bit on this show today. And I have to, in order for me to point out what the media is doing, conservative media is doing, what conservative media has done, and the reason why it further helps with this whole divide and conquer tactic that the dirty bird, because remember, these are two dirty wings on the same. Listen, the Republican Party is not what you think it is. There's no way in the world the left could have gotten as corrupt and as far left as they have gotten if they didn't have people helping them on the right and just simply not doing anything about it on the right. We're going to talk about a lot of what they could have done, what needs to be done, and just what's not happening. Specifically, what isn't happening. So we're going to get into it. I can't hear this. Oh, something ain't right.
Biden had enough and told the reporters to leave. A report will allocate money to black communities. After mumbling for 3 minutes, Biden had enough and told the reporters to leave. A reporter quickly asked Biden, quote,
again, you can go to the Next News Network on YouTube. You can subscribe to their channel. You can follow Gary. Franchi is Instagram handle, Twitter handle is on the screen. Tell him Montaga Tony X sent you.
changing the way that African Americans interact with police in this country during the Biden era. What can you deliver on, sir? Well, watch.
A good friend, S.C. Hastings, I knew a long, long time. And to lose him is losing a piece of the, I don't know what, just losing a piece of something. And also, Dante Wright in Minnesota, got off shooting and resulting in his death. And in the midst of an ongoing trial over the killing of George Floyd, and Lord only knows what's happened based on what the verdict will or will not be there. And but we're in the business, all of us meeting today, to deliver some real change. When we took office, I talked with Jim at length about this. Every single aspect of, I signed the executive order.
Notice that now he's showing you the cards that he have, the talking points that he have, and the things that he has to follow. Those cards he have are talking points. You've never seen Donald Trump sitting there with talking point cards. Now, of course, when speakers are giving speeches, they have the projection monitors up in front of them. You'll see them utilizing that. But never in the history of the United States of America, within our modern time, I'm going to say, did you see such an incoherent president. And you've never seen a president, truly someone responsible for this country, needing to have a card there in order to not go off a script. And every time he tries to ad-lib, you notice that he isn't really saying anything besides saying, and I've talked to, or I've done, or my record, or it's the same gibberish every single time. And I'm laughing, but this is sad because at the state of where we are in this nation,
every single aspect of our government, including every agency, has as a primary focus dealing with equity. Not a joke. From the beginning, we talked at length about it, Jim. And
well, if it's not a joke, then why is it that $50 million has been allocated towards the Asian community? Why is it that you've had months in office and nothing has been done to address Black America? And this is where the right falls short. Before I get on that, let me just show something about the room real quick. Oh, I'm trying to fast forward so we can pan out. I need to pan out so we can show some of the bodies in this room. Okay, here we go. What Black community chose these 5 Black people to be the voice and reasoning of Black America? These people who openly put themselves out there to be instruments for the destruction of Black America. Why is it that nothing has changed in terms of economic capability? If, for those that are watching on Instagram, these people are very afraid. So if you find yourself being kicked out of the live, you can go to YouTube and watch the show live right now. You can watch and see everything that's on the screen. And if you just want to come here on YouTube and watch the show on YouTube, on Instagram, just come right back in if they kick you out. They're going to try to pause it. They're going to try to do everything they can. But we have great Wi-Fi here. We have the best Wi-Fi money could buy. We're in the office, so we should have no issues whatsoever with Wi-Fi. So it's not on my end. It's them doing it. For those people that are on Instagram that keep sending requests to go live, I'm live right now. Stop sending requests. All right, so what Black community elected these people to speak for Black America? Nobody. Nobody asked these people to be responsible to talk for Black America. That's the reason why any given time the left can prop up some puppet and the right can prop up some puppet. And now we're going to get specifically as to why the right can't get right within these communities. Every time you turn around, the right, conservative media is always propping up the Carlton Banks. But Carlton Banks isn't going outside and breaking storefronts and setting fires to stuff. Carlton Banks isn't even walking through these communities that they're setting fire to. Carlton Banks don't live there. Carlton Banks don't visit nobody there. No one there wants to hear Carlton Banks open his mouth and say anything about anything. The right, for the longest, has watched as the left has had a handle on manipulating the Black community, specifically the urban Black community. They go after the culture, music. They go after the celebrities that come from there, the basketball players that come from there. And you've never seen the right. If I keep seeing the requests from people on Instagram to go live, I'm going to block you. I'm telling you, stop sending the requests and just wait till I'm done. Wait till I'm finished. So the right has never reached out up until the point of Donald Trump. Up until the point of Donald Trump, the right has never reached out They've never reached out to any one of these prominent celebrities. It took Ice Cube to have to step up and say something, and Donald Trump was there to listen. He had a legitimate plan, and you notice he's not in the room right now. If you look on the screen, Ice Cube is not in the room right now. He is not in the room right now. He is not in the room right now. Ice Cube is not in the room right now. They're not asking him about his plan. They're not asking him how they can change things for Black America. The same people that have been responsible for the destruction of Black America is sitting in this room collectively right now, and no one has blamed them for their failure. If I was working at a pizza shop and I burnt the pizza every single time, I wouldn't have a job at a pizzeria. If I worked at a fast food restaurant and I always got the order wrong, I wouldn't keep my job at a fast food restaurant. These people have been in position for decades, and no one is calling them out on their horrible job. Kids in Chicago are killing themselves at a rate faster than any conventional modern war we've seen in our lifetime. They're not even 18 years of age. These kids are 14 and 17 years of age. No one is talking about the conditions that is leading these kids to the point of not respecting each other's lives and feeling that in order to handle a problem, which originally starts through verbal aggression, the end can only mean somebody gotta die. You said something disrespectful about my name, I gotta kill you. I remember when I was a kid coming up, we would have our differences settled by coming outside and fighting. The adults, but even my uncle, you know, your father You had a problem, your father, your parents come outside and they would tell you, put your dukes up and you both scrap it out right now. And after you're done fighting, you shake hands, you walk away, the better man wins, and that's that. I remember those days. I've had plenty of fights coming downstairs while my mama stood there, while my uncle stood there, and we had to fight and scrap it out as young kids to get whatever we were feeling off of our chest so we could go about our day. And then in some cases, some of the kids you fought with, you end up becoming real close with. You end up becoming friends with them. You have an open respect for one another. And Sal, I'm gonna block you. Just so you can know that I'm gonna block you. So just so you see it coming, I'm blocking you. Delusional too, you're getting blocked. Anybody that is sending me any requests on Instagram to go live with me while I'm doing my live show and interrupting my show, I promise you, I'm gonna remove you from my platform. Because when you're on my Instagram, I allow you to come in first, and I'll keep you there last, and I entertain you after the show is over. But since you can't wait, and no one wants to listen, I'm going to make sure I block you as soon as I'm done with this show. So I remember those days where we had those altercations, and then you and the kid will become best of friends afterwards. You would have a mutual respect for one another. Fast forward now, these kids are outright killing themselves. You know why the right also can't get it right? It's because whenever someone has a grievance, you don't know how to talk back to the left. You sound like you're whining and complaining. Now, this is the Next News Network. I got all respect for Gary Franchi, but this is either clickbait or this is just ridiculous. The squad, Rashida Tlaib, calls for anarchy, and it's absolutely terrifying. This is what she said on Twitter. It wasn't an accident. Policing in our country is inherently and intentionally racist. Dante Wright was met with aggression and violence, and I am done with those who condone government-funded murder. No more policing, incarceration, and militarization. It can't be reformed. She didn't call for anarchy. She's just dumb. And instead of you addressing the dumb statements there, and instead of you showing why it's dumb, you sit there and you say she's calling for anarchy, and it makes it seem like you are weak. So it's either you're looking for clickbait, or you lack the capability of being able to talk to these people in their own language just to show how stupid they are. The majority of cops in New York right now, in New York City right now, that have done something wrong to a citizen, they aren't white. That's right. If you go and you check the numbers, and anyone watching this on the left, I dare you to tell me I'm wrong. You will be mistreated by an officer that is your color before you will be mistreated by an officer that's not. Tell me I'm lying. You will be mistreated by an officer that is your color before you'll be mistreated by an officer that is not. You can't tell me I'm lying. You can't tell me I'm lying. In all of these liberal states, the police officers are diverse. And New York City has we have the most diverse police precincts you can think of. I'm talking about Hindus, blacks, Jewish people, Chinese people. They have more minorities working in these precincts than they do white people. And I've personally experienced my rights being violated by blacks, Hispanics, and other ethnicities. Personally. I was arrested because someone attacked me at a gas station with a car boot, and I thrashed him. And although a white supervisor stopped me and put me and arrested me, I'm being paused on Instagram because, of course, they don't want you to hear the truth. So again, those on Instagram, if you're being paused, if they're kicking you out, make sure you come back. I was arrested because I defended myself and gave someone a good thrashing who thought that they was gonna manhandle. This guy was tall, like 6 foot, must have had like 80 pounds on me, and he got the whooping of his life to the point where he went to the hospital and I went to the prison, to the precinct. I went to the bookings, to central bookings. And the supervisor was across the street, ran across the street. He kicked me because he could have shot me. He could have shot me. At this time, I had the car boot in my hand, and I was whipping this guy with the car boot. Yeah. So he could have shot me. But instead, he Luke Kane kicked me. He karate kicked me, and I was gone, because the only thing going through my mind was, I'm gonna kill him. I know this dude didn't just hit me in my face with this car boot. I'm gonna kill him. That's the only thing going through my mind. I'm beating him in the street. I'm like I'm getting paid for it. And the cop comes, flies, kicks me, and then I'm thinking that it's his coworker that's jumping me. I'm ready to look at his coworker with death in my eyes, and I look up and it's a cop. And then when he seen my eyes, then he drew his gun and he said, "Freeze, put it down right now." I put it down. I stopped. I put my hands behind my back, and then I looked at the guy, and then I lunged at the guy again. And then he literally put his hand out and said, "Stop, stop, stop." I calmed down. I put my hands behind my back. I knew I was going to jail. I said, "I'm pressing charges on him too." I said that, and all the other officers that came, they were Spanish, they were black, they had an Asian officer that was there, and nobody locked him up. Nobody. Nobody locked him up. Nobody. They didn't care about locking him up. They had me. One of the officers, a minority, broke my diamond earrings. The stem of my diamond earrings. This is something you have to do on purpose. Broke my stem of my diamond earrings. I had my Rolex. I had my jewelry. They must have been really, really upset. They must have been really, really upset. I bailed out of prison. I ended up beating the case. Great lawyer. But the only person that was disrespectful towards me were the minority officers in the precinct. The sergeant could have shot me. He didn't do it. And instead of getting the facts, instead of going by the data and showing, hey, it's these many cops that have the tickets on their records, that have the complaints on their records, and these are the actual races of these individuals. Instead of seeing that, instead of saying that, you sit there and you put up there, she's calling for anarchy. Dante wasn't met with aggression. The officer who was there for 25 years, this female, she's an imbecile. Because she thought that the male officer couldn't do his job. And when he had Dante up against the car, she could have went and closed the door. She could have assisted that way. Instead, she got into him already having his hands behind his back. The officer already had him. I believe she complicated the arrest. Maybe this cop was new. This is what they're saying. This cop, the first arresting cop, they said he was new on the force. It seems to me like initially he had it all under control. Dante was out of the car. He had his hands behind his back. And it wasn't until she went over there that he started to go buck wild and started to move around and started to shake and want to squirm and wanted to get away. This officer had that man out the car. He wasn't aggressive at all. He seemed respectful as they come. He didn't shoot him either. He didn't pull his gun out. And he had him up against the car with his hands behind his back. She could have came over there with her handcuffs out at the ready. She didn't trust her fellow officer enough. She didn't give him adequate backup. And that's why she's dealing with what she's dealing with right now. I don't care how y'all feel about the situation. Dante should be in jail. He shouldn't be in a morgue. And I'm tired of seeing people belittling or trivializing people's lives. And the right has a big problem with that as well. So people on the right, legislators on the right, they don't go towards people in urban communities to engage these leaders. They should be behind Antoine Tucker. They should be behind Angela Stanton King. Even if you don't like everything that young Pharaoh says, you should be behind a young Pharaoh. Because if you don't, I don't have to respect everything that you say. I don't have to agree with everything that you say. But I don't gain any ground by trying to silence you or by trying to act as if you don't exist. Because there's a multitude of people that are watching us as leaders, that are paying attention to what we do and what we say. And it's important that if you want to be heard, if you want these people to hear you out, if you want these people to tell you what they're going through, so we can actually have some type of change happen, you have to go into these communities and talk to these people. They don't talk to these people at all. They don't have them on their shows. They don't. You may see Angela Stanton up there here and there, but you haven't seen her up there since the election has taken place. Does she keep it too real? Is she being too honest? Where are the strong black men? Where are the strong black men that are actually in these communities, engaging these individuals, and talking to these individuals, hearing their grievances, that have good plans? Where are these people at on these programs and on these shows? Why aren't your legislative officials trying to talk to them, that have them around, to get an input from them? This is the reason why it's not working. And you wonder why these people feel like you're racist. You don't even give them any say. You're not giving them any word. And the black people you choose to put up there have no living experience in these communities. Doesn't make you less black. It makes you less experienced. And I'm tired of hearing these Carlton Banks on the right sit there and say, because I don't come from the urban community, because I don't come from the projects, doesn't mean that I'm not black. No one is saying that. We're saying that you can't talk about these people that you don't go around. You have no experience there. No one there respects you because they can't identify with you. They didn't grow up the way you grew up. Hence the reason why you're not burning stuff. You don't have scars on your body. And the reason why you do not walk through these communities. They're tired of seeing Carlton Banks propped up like some type of ambassador for Black America when you have black men out here that are standing tall, and we don't have to be as polished as you want us to be. We don't have to run around with the butt-naked baby rapist face. I don't trust many men that don't have a mustache. It's the truth. And these black folks from these communities don't trust them either. So when they look at who you choose to put up there to represent Black America or to even speak for the urban community, and you have someone up there talking about, this is precisely the point as to why this is just disgusting. And I can't understand why these people are acting like thugs and ruffians. And these people are uneducated. They have a school system that is purposely feeding them propaganda. They have a television that as soon as you turn it on, you have the news. And thanks to the greatest investigating journalist of our time, James O'Keefe, they finally got Project Veritas. Finally got. Wait, we're waiting for Instagram. They keep trying to destroy the link. Thanks to the greatest investigating journalist of modern time, James O'Keefe, we have proof that CNN was purposely putting up propaganda about Donald J. Trump. You got all of these black folks who tell black people, pick yourself up by the pants. I had this or I had that, or you got coin, you got money and opportunity. You have a platform that people can hear you and you can talk to people, and you do not go into any of these impoverished communities to sit down with anybody in these communities, any leaders in these communities to figure out what the problem is, or to even go there with a solution. And then they use these same people to go onto these platforms, these conservative platforms, to sit there and talk about the black communities that they never visit. They never pay attention to. So black people from these communities are getting fed up with this. And they're calling these people Uncle Toms. Even though Uncle Tom was a dope dude and people just don't know about it. But they're calling them coons. They're using all of these disrespectful terms, or in some cases they think it's disrespectful and it's really not. But they're using these terms to address these black people because these black people are talking about matters they do not have experience with. I can't talk about how it feels to be a police officer, but I can talk about how it feels to be discriminated against by a police officer because I've had experience with it. And we need to stop talking about it being a color issue, because what Gary should have been talking about is just how do we fix the problem, because this is something that affects all communities. Let me pull this up.
Apparently, we have a failure to comprehensive instructions. I'm going to go over some of them again. Okay? You both hear and understand me? Yes. All right. If you make a mistake, another mistake, there's a very severe possibility you're both going to get shot. Do you understand? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Whoa.
First problem. I'm tired of people making this about color. If you have never had a gun pointed at your face, shut up. If you've never had someone, a stranger, point a gun in your face, shut up. These are the last moments of this young man in this hallway. He is not black. And the first thing that was said to him was that there is a great possibility you're going to be shot. He all but probably pissed his pants right then and there. I don't even want to show the rest of this footage because everybody knows what happened to this young man. He is not here. He's not here. We are giving officers military grade weapons, and we are not giving them military grade training, rules of engagement. There's a reason why our military has less casualties when we're dealing with our troops and our soldiers on the ground, because tactically they're taught how to go into these situations, assess a threat, and deal with it accordingly. We're not doing the same thing inside of our precincts. We're not changing the way police, so they're more responsive towards the individuals, and they can actually assess a threat and be able to deal with it accordingly. This young man is not here anymore. So instead of Gary talking about she's calling for anarchy, he should have just simply put out the names out there of individuals that were murdered by police that aren't black. Simple. And then I will point out that they were all but giving the Capitol Police head jobs, thanking them when that so-called riot took place. When Antifa was bust in there and they had crisis actors go in there, cause confusion, and actually destroy something that was meant to be peaceful in the first place. That's my opinion. But we have proof to that, though. They wasn't talking about defunding the police then. Who are you going to call when you see the next door neighbor throwing kids in the back of a van with duct tape on their mouths and behind and duct tapes on their wrists? Who you gonna call? Who? Who are you gonna call when you see someone outside with a firearm pistol whipping someone? Who are you gonna call? Instead of hearing the grievances of many people, instead of acknowledging that there is a problem that we need to deal with, you toss it under the rug as if there isn't, and there is. This young man is dead.
This is shut up.
Told him to shut up. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Shut up. Yeah. Yeah. This is shut up. I'm not here to be tackled. We're both going to get shot. Do you understand? Yeah. Pretty severe possibility you're both going to get shot. Do you understand? Yeah. Yeah. All right. This is shut up. I'm not here to be tackled.
That's a problem. This guy isn't black. Police officers are taught to de-escalate. That's not de-escalation. That's an open death threat and disrespect. That is an open death threat and disrespect. And they killed him. And they killed him. This is the reason why the right cannot get it right. It's because you refuse to address the elephant in the room. And you refuse to actually hold people accountable. You refuse to talk to people within these urban communities and give them a voice, and lend your platform to them so we can actually have a bridge built, so we can have better communication with one another, so we can come up with real solutions. Because if we had this opportunity, there wouldn't be a Black Lives Matter. It wouldn't exist. It would have never happened. George Soros would have never had the opportunity to start a Black Lives Matter. It would have never happened. Because of the right ignoring the elephant in the room, it allows the left to manipulate the youth, the standing adults in the room, and the senior citizens to there being a problem, because anyone with eyes can see that there is an elephant in the room. You have police officers going and arresting people for going to church. Let me repeat that. You have police officers going into churches and arresting people for attending church. You have police officers going to funerals and arresting citizens for attending funerals. At what point do you not address the elephant in the room? A cop swore an oath to the Constitution to defend this United States of America from enemies foreign and domestic. And if enough cops got together, turned their backs on the tyrants that are telling them to go out there and do these unconstitutional acts, it would never happen. Communities would uplift these police departments, these police officers, and the communities would protect them. The communities would protect them. Trying to see if I can get it real quick. Let me see. There's a police chief that's black that stopped crime, and I believe it's in Maryland or a part of Maryland or something to the sort. And he pretty much stopped almost all crime there. And the city council ended up firing him because he wasn't allowing them to do drug raids in poor communities, and he forced police officers to go out and do community policing. Shout out to the Real News Network.
Across the country, particularly in Baltimore, where the death of Freddie Gray in police custody has led to honor with police and ultimately established a war room after a record surge in murders.
My goal was
A former Baltimore homicide detective.
and get to know the community.
But there's another side to this story about policing, and it begins with this man, a former Baltimore homicide detective named Kelvin Sewell. 4 years ago, he left Baltimore and its aggressive policing behind.
We always talk about bad officers. Let's talk about good officers. Let me show you a shining example of what happens to good officers as well.
And came to this sleepy town on the eastern shore called Pocomoke City that was having its own problems with violent crime. But he didn't create a war room and run drug raids in black neighborhoods. Instead, he took an entirely different approach. He got out of his car and walked. It was a simple move that connected him to the community.
Talking to these individuals who were living day by day, they accepted me into the community because they think I said about I'm caring about them.
And marked the beginnings of a strategy that reduced the crime rate to historic lows in only 4 years.
Even the local community here on these streets, these local streets here, have improved a great deal as far as coming a long way as far as crime. You can walk these streets any time of the hour of the day or the night and know you will be safe.
But his success has now been marred by what appears to be racial politics. 2 weeks ago, Sewell was fired during a closed-door session with the city council and the mayor.
Policing in America has always involved race, but here in Pocomoke City, people love their black police chief. It is his firing that has caused controversy and raised uncomfortable questions.
But residents believe his termination is in part due to race.
I don't see any other reason why they would fire him.
It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the fact that he messed up the money. He stopped these drug raids, these raids that went into people's homes, broke up people's stuff, started arresting people, beating people up and asking questions. He actually went in and enforced community policing. And it showed that you didn't have to take an aggressive approach to reach these people. All you have to do is get out the car and show you care. But he got it right. He got it right. He didn't need military grade equipment in order to have his officers doing their job, in order for his officers to be safe and respected by the community. He just simply needed them to get out their cars and go talk to the people that they're supposed to be serving and protecting. Why would you worry about a suspect when you know who everyone is in the community? When you've watched Jonathan grow up in the community, when you know his mother is Miss Gladys. What? You don't need it. You are less likely to disrespect an officer when you know that officer knows your family and knows you as well, and you have a relationship with them. You're less likely to lie to him because you would feel embarrassed because of the relationship that he has built with you. And this has nothing to do with color. Listen, the idea of racism is taught to you. It's taught to you. Being prejudiced is taught to you. You don't learn about that until you turn on the TV. You don't learn about that until someone who's prejudiced gets around you and starts saying the most ignorant things they can find out of their mouth. And when you're young, you start to believe it because you what? You believe your parents. You love your parents. You love your teachers. You love the people around you that you see are helping you. And you tend to listen to what they're saying. And then you start believing that garbage. A friend of mine, even my girl, she said it's amazing that with everything that you've been through, that you're not disruptive, abusive, and God knows other things. But it doesn't mean that I wasn't at some time. These are things that I chose to change. Not everybody's going to have that in them. Because being a fool, sometimes it's just the easiest road for people. Being hateful, being spiteful, it's the easiest road for people. And now, specifically, it's an easy road for Black Americans. Because the only thing they're taught is your life is full of despair. No one is teaching these Black sisters and these Black brothers how to walk into a room and demand respect. How to walk into a room and demand respect. How to force people to give you the change that you want without being violent. Just by being engaging and diligent. No one is teaching these young individuals a boss mentality, a take no mentality, and a hard-driven, drive-forward mentality. They're telling them hard work, it's just too hard for you. Again, if you are being censored on Instagram, because they love to pause the content. They don't want me to have the ability to talk to people. They don't want me to have the ability to give people information. So Instagram continuously goes in and they pause the information. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna screen record. We're going to screen record it from here on so we can continue to show what they're doing on our platform on Instagram. And for those of you on Instagram, if you can, you should screen record it too. Because if you see that it's being paused, if you see anything like that on your end, you should send the information to bookingtonyx@gmail.com. No one is teaching Black folks how to be bosses, how to make sure that they are respected, how to respect themselves, how to respect each other, and how to have a just don't quit kind of attitude. How hard is it to have a disagreement with someone and then turn around and say, instead of us shooting each other, let's talk it out? When did I am sorry become so difficult to say? When did I am wrong become one of the most impossible words we could say to one another? And that's all racist. Why is it that I'm wrong, I am sorry, is one of the last things to come out of the modern day American's mouth? Why have we got to the point where saying I'm sorry for not giving you a chance so I can understand where you're coming from? When did we get to the point where we feel as if that's not substantial enough. I know we're in America. I know we don't have to care about what anyone says, but if we're trying to care about one another, if we're trying to actually have change happen and occur, the only way we're going to have it happen is if we talk to one another and if we sit down and we listen. That's the only way change is going to happen. For those of you that are watching, Ash, I don't have Zelle, brother. I don't have Zelle. I don't have Zelle. I don't. If I have Zelle, that means I would have to give you an email address or a phone number. I don't have Zelle. So I do not have Zelle. I have PayPal, and you don't need to have PayPal to donate to PayPal. You can use that link, paypal.me/TonyXTone, and you can just simply go in there, put in your card information, and donate via PayPal. You can go to Venmo and just simply put in, and Venmo takes no time at all. You can go sign up for Venmo, and you can send the money Venmo. You can put in Antoine-Tucker-4. It's on the screen right now. I appreciate you, though. I definitely appreciate you, and I love you for that, bro. But I don't have Zelle. I'm sorry. I'll try to set that up in the future. And I want to thank everybody for donating again, and everybody that's donating tonight. I love you guys. I appreciate it. And the more I see the donations, the more I'm going to come in here and give you guys content that we really need to have. And we're going to open up conversations that we really need to have. And we're going to talk about topics that we really need to have. I also will be doing 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week, reactions to videos, because a lot of people have been asking me to do reactions to certain videos and they want to see what I have to say about this. Some things are funny, some things are serious. So we're going to go in and we're going to touch on some reaction videos, and we're going to have some reaction videos where we do them live. We're going to have the reactions live, unscripted, unedited, and we're going to give you that raw. Before I end this show, I'm going to tell you something. One of the most powerful things you can do in this lifetime is be silent and listen when someone is talking to you, especially if they're telling you that something is wrong with them. Because the only way we can heal anybody is if we listen to what makes them ill. The only way we can educate somebody is if we listen to them to see where they're actually uneducated at. And one of the most powerful things you can do is tell someone, I am sorry. We have to start telling ourselves and our children, it's okay. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Think about all the lives in Chicago, all the lives in Miami and New York and Boston and Baltimore and California. Think about all the lives that could have been saved if we simply would have just said to each other, I'm sorry. If we would have had just a little bit more patience with one another and we would have just listened. To those of you on the right, I'm trying my best not to belittle you, not to attack you, because I'm a conservative. I'm trying my best to teach you how to engage the community that you yourselves are constantly alienating. And then when you put this coverage out there, it doesn't make it seem as if you want to actually relate to these people, reach these people so you can change their conduct. It seems as if you don't realize what's happening and you're constantly attacking these people. When a child does something, you often say the child didn't know any better because they weren't taught correctly, or they didn't have the opportunity to be taught that. There are adults that are running around here with the child, with the mind of a child. They're being taught. They're being programmed. We have to stop looking at this from a negative perspective, and we have to start looking at this in a very analytical way, because these people are being programmed and led to think and feel this way. And just because you have better judgment doesn't mean that they're gonna have better judgment. And you have to stop putting these Carlton Banks, black folks up there and then thinking that they somehow will speak for these urban communities, because they do not. Nor do they visit these urban communities. They're not doing any outreach in any one of these urban communities. Stop reaching out to these people and then putting them up there like they somehow have it all figured out for black folks coming out of the ghetto. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay American, and remember, 2 middle fingers to both sides, because they had 2 dirty wings on a very dirty, 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 dirty bird. Love you much. Positive energy, love, light, and loyalty to you.